I know exactly how it happens. You walk into the tackle shop, and you see them lined up behind the glass counter, looking like shiny, low-profile sports cars. You've watched all the professional tournament anglers on television pitching and flipping with them. So, you drop $200 on your very first bait casting reel, convinced that this is the tool that will finally make you a real fisherman. You take it to the lake, tie on your favorite lure, step up to the edge of the water, and you swing for the fences. You make that very first hero cast. The lure flies about 20 feet, suddenly stops midair, and violently snaps back. You look down at your brand new, expensive reel, and staring back at you is a tangled, chaotic bird's nest of fishing line, so deep and so complicated that you literally have to pull out your scissors, cut the line, and drive home in absolute frustration. The fishing industry marketing machine has done a fantastic job of convincing beginners that spinning reels are just for kids, and that graduating to a baitcaster is a mandatory rite of passage. But it is a profitable lie. The worst thing an older fisherman can ever tell you is, if you aren't using a baitcaster, you aren't really fishing. Today, we are going to expose the ugly truth about baitcasters. I am going to explain exactly why they cause so much misery, help you figure out if you actually even need one right now, and finally, if you already bought one. I will give you 3 simple steps to tame that beast so you never have to cut a bird's nest out of your reel ever again. Before you throw your brand new reel into the bottom of the lake, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and tap the like icon so we can keep bringing you the honest, stress-free fishing advice that the industry won't tell you. Let's fix this. To understand why a baitcaster is so frustrating, you have to understand the anatomy of the nightmare. I want you to give yourself a break right now. When you backlash a reel, it is not because you are clumsy, and it is not because you lack coordination. You are simply fighting physics. When you make a cast with a standard spinning reel, the spool of wire sits completely perfectly still, and the line just slips off the top in smooth loops. It is incredibly forgiving. But on a baitcaster, the entire heavy metal cylinder physically rotates to let the line out. When you make a hard cast, you are sending that cylinder spinning at over 1,000 revolutions per minute. Here is where the disaster happens. When your lure flies through the air and suddenly hits the water, or gets caught in a strong gust of wind, the lure stops moving forward. But because of momentum, that metal spool inside your reel just keeps spinning at maximum speed. The line is still coming off the spool, but it has nowhere to go out of the rod. So, it instantly wraps back violently against itself, creating that massive knot. You are fighting the laws of physics, pure and simple. So, here is the ugly truth that the tackle shops don't want to admit. Do you actually need a baitcaster to catch fish? Absolutely not. For about 80% of the situations you will face on a normal lake or river, a standard spinning rod will do the exact same job with 0 stress and 0 backlashes. If you are fishing in open water, throwing lightweight plastics, small crankbaits, or fishing when it is incredibly windy, a spinning reel is actually vastly superior. It takes away the anxiety and lets you just focus on finding the fish. So, when do you actually need one? You only truly need a baitcasting setup when you are moving into heavy combat fishing. Because a baitcaster sits directly in line with the rod, its internal gears act like a high-torque winch. If you are throwing heavy, 1-ounce jigs into thick submerged trees, or dragging a hollow body frog over a massive, thick mat of lily pads using 65-pound braided line, a spinning reel will struggle. You need the raw winching power of a baitcaster to physically drag a 5-pound bass and 10 pounds of wet weeds out of that heavy cover. That is what they are built for. Heavy line, heavy cover, and heavy lures. But let's say you already bought one, and it is sitting in your garage mocking you. Let's do a little bit of reel therapy. You can easily tame this machine if you follow 3 mandatory steps. Step 1 is understanding the spool tension knob. This is the little round dial sitting right next to the handle. Most beginners leave this way too loose. Before you ever make a cast, tie your lure on and hold your rod straight out in front of you. Click the release button. Your lure should not plummet to the ground. You want to tighten that little tension knob until the lure falls very slowly. And most importantly, the exact millisecond the lure touches the grass, the spool should completely stop spinning on its own. If the spool keeps spinning after the lure hits the ground, tighten the knob more. This acts as your safety net. Step 2 is the ultimate mentor hack, the tape trick. This will save you so much money in ruined line. Go out into your yard, tie on a heavy practice plug, and pull out about 30 yards of line, roughly the distance of a very long cast. Once you have that line pulled out, take a small piece of electrical tape or masking tape and stick it flat right across the remaining line on the spool. Now, reel that 30 yards of line right back over the tape. Here is why this is magic. When you go to the lake and inevitably make a bad cast that causes a backlash, the knot can only go as deep as the tape. It stops the nightmare in its tracks. You pull out a few feet of line, hit the tape, untangle the small loop, and you are right back to fishing in 10 seconds. You will never have to cut your entire spool of line away again. Step 3 is accepting the reality of the educated thumb. Modern baitcasters have magnetic brakes and centrifugal brakes, and they are wonderful, but they are not automatic transmissions. The true brake on a baitcasting reel is your physical thumb resting gently on the spool as the line flies out. When you see the lure about to hit the water, you press your thumb down to stop the spool. This is muscle memory. It takes time, patience, and practice. Do not try to cast a country mile on your first day. Make smooth, short, gentle pitches. Fishing is supposed to be your quiet escape from the noise, the pressure, and the stress of the modern world. It should never be a new source of anxiety. The bass swimming around under the water do not care what logo is stamped on your reel. They don't care if your setup costs $50 or $500. If learning to use a baitcaster is ruining your weekend, put it down. Pick up your trusty spinning rod, take a deep breath, and just enjoy being out in nature. You can always learn the baitcaster later when you are ready. I want you to be completely honest with me down in the comments. How many hours of your life do you think you have lost sitting on the edge of a boat, staring down at your lap, trying to pick apart a terrible backlash? Share your pain below so the beginners know they aren't alone. Thank you so much for watching. Take it easy on yourself this weekend, and tight lines out there.